All right, so today we're going to be doing an oil change on the Fiat. There we go. It's good to do an oil change on these cars about every 5,000 miles because they do burn oil a pretty good amount. And if you look online at the manufacturer spec for the acceptable amount of oil, you'll see that it's acceptable for it to burn about a quart per oil change. So definitely want to be changing the oil on these cars way more often than 10,000 or even 7,000 miles. I feel like 5,000 is about the cap of my comfort level. And some of my friends that have tuned Abarths, they'll do like 3,000-4,000. So yeah, definitely don't skimp out on how often you change the oil, or for that matter, what oil you're putting in your car. So my choice of oil is this Pennzoil Platinum Euro Full Synthetic. Based on what I found on the forums, this is kind of everybody's go-to stuff. And then you're also going to have to get Mopar, genuine Mopar oil filter. MO241 is the part number, and just make sure you don't forget that in addition to the filter, it comes with an O-ring. Okay, so we're gonna swap out filter and O-ring. I will have, if that guy's on Amazon still, I'll link him in the description, and I'll definitely link these in the description. Really recommend you getting the Pennzoil Platinum Euro Full Synthetic. So, yep, let's get started. All right, so to begin with, I'm gonna be taking off this plastic under tray, and it's a 10 mil. We've got 2 bolts on the front, right there, and then another 2 on these long tongue looking things that stick out, and then another 2 on each side. Nice. Alrighty, so with the under tray off, you can see this is our drain plug right here. So now we're presented with the choice: do we want our oil to spill all over this cross member here, or do we remove it? Since I have an impact, it's pretty easy for me to take this thing off, so that's what I'm gonna do. But if you don't feel like doing that, no problem, and just letting it flow on top and then clean that off later. I've done that before, but I just prefer not to do that anymore. So I'm gonna take this off. So to take that off, we just gotta take off these 4 18mm bolts. All right, so I'm just gonna start by loosening the oil fill cap just to relieve the pressure in the system. So go ahead and situate your catch pan, and this guy is a 13mm. Fortunately, the last guy didn't tighten it too much. All right, now comes the fun part. The oil filter is down there beneath this intake hose. So in order to get to it, we're gonna have to wrestle this out of the way. Alrighty, so we're gonna start by going ahead and removing this little vacuum hose. That one's pretty easy to do. And then this guy, which to undo this hose clamp, you can either use I think it's 8mm or flathead. I use a flathead because I just don't really like using a socket down in here. So I'm just gonna loosen that enough can slide this back. Get that guy out of the way. Whoop. This hose clamp right here. This guy's always fun because depending on the angle, you can either get to it or you can't get to it. And now with my hand, pull that guy off. So this intake is actually completely loose. If you can see now, that is the oil filter right there. Something else you're gonna have to order is this 27mm socket, or you can buy it at Lowe's or Home Depot. This is for the oil filter housing. So you're just gonna slip that down and you can see it kind of catch. So taking this guy out of here is a real pain in the butt because it's essentially upside down. So it's got oil all over it, and it's gonna leak all over everything in there. So these hoses, the intake to the turbo, it's gonna get oil in that, so you're gonna have to clean that up. And before I get to that, I'm gonna go ahead and grab a couple shop towels. Just kind of make a spot for me in a second. Little workstation. Okay. So I'm holding this hose back with my 2 fingers here. With my other hand, grabbing this guy. You just kind of have to contort it at different angles till it comes out. And now, you just kind of gotta pull on it with some light force, and then just kind of twist it back and forth a little bit, and then it'll start to come out. Also gonna take off this O-ring, and it's easiest just to use a flathead like that. I'm just gonna clean this guy up a little bit. So I'm gonna start by taking this guy, just getting some oil on this guy real quick. That just makes sure that the rubber, whenever it seals, it's not gonna catch and cause any tearing or cause any seepage. Allows it enough lubrication so that it doesn't get in its own way and it can get in a good spot. And people tend to get this wrong. So where it currently is not the proper location. This is like actually still on the on the threads. You want to make sure it goes down into that bottom groove. There we go. And then for the oil filter, it just goes prongs down, and you can just kind of rotate it till it falls into place. There it goes. Now it's not going anywhere. Holding that hose back again. Now what's really important is that it goes in straight. You don't cross thread it. So if you feel any resistance whatsoever, back it off, because if you strip this thing, you're gonna have to replace the whole oil filter housing. And 1, that means you won't be able to drive the car today. And 2, that means that you're gonna have to spend, I think it's like 40 or 50 bucks just for that one part. Maybe I'm overshooting by a little bit, but it's kind of ridiculously expensive for what it is. So do not screw that thing up. And I'm just gonna go ahead and do the reverse from earlier. tighten this guy on. And like I was saying a second ago, do not over tighten this, because if you do, you'll crack the oil filter housing and then you'll have to buy a new one. So another thing you don't want to do. I'm just gonna clean up this area where all this oil dripped. All right, so we're gonna start by replacing this to where it was. Boom. Down on there nice and good. Where I like to tighten it is where it's like right lined up with the ATM logo. You can see the ATM logo peeking out there. It's also right on the edge of the wastegate. And lastly, this little vacuum. And it's pretty easy to go on, to put on. Just make sure you're careful with this guy. There we go. And bring it all back on there. And I really don't like to tighten it too much. Like it's snugging up there, I'm just gonna do a little bit extra turn. Alrighty, I'm just gonna go ahead and give it 4 quarts. Number 2. Number 3. Next, you're gonna put this cross brace on and then throw the underpan on. And then the last step, but most definitely not the least, would be to go watch this video right here to see why you should buy one of these Abarth 500s if you haven't already. I'll see you in the next one.